All right, check your calendar, and it's just 48 hours before 2022 wraps itself up and we get into the new year of 2023. It's been such an amazing year, an amazing ride, and we'd like to welcome you once again to Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. It's the last edition of the program for this year, for this month, and for this moment. That means by the time we see again, it will be 2023. Thank you so much for joining us and for keeping faith with us. You already know what we do here. We bring you as it is, from where it drops, when it drops. We bring you stories, making the headlines. We bring you engaging interviews. And of course, we show you who and what is trending and why, and what people are saying about the who, what, and why. My name is Emmanuel Ujiadigede. Thank you so much for joining us. I know there are so many issues bothering the average Nigerians: the fuel scarcity, the prices of food, but we're Nigerians and we always pull through, and I pray that we will always pull through. And like Femi would always pray for you, that you have the springs in your steps every morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Now we'll move to the newspaper analysis. By the time we come from this break, we'll show you who is in the studio to give us some insight into some stories. Do stay with us. We'll be right back with the papers after this break. All right, welcome back to the show. Still Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. I want to bring you the papers and show you what stories and who is in the news today, and maybe from the beginning of the week till today. And I have with me in the studio a media entrepreneur, a seasoned journalist, Dr. Femi Adefila, once again joining us this morning to make sense of some of the stories. Good morning, Doctor.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you on the show once again. So we'll go straight to the papers this morning. The Punch newspaper is where we kick off. The Punch newspaper, Friday, December 30th, 2022. The banner headline says, aggrieved PDP governors demand Tinubu support in 5 states. Aggrieved PDP governors demand Tinubu support in 5 states. A couple of riders there. PDP governors concerned about political careers seek assurance from Tinubu. Ex-Lagos governor to brief party. Akeredolu insists Southerner must succeed Buhari. G5 governors visit Ekweremadu in prison, return from UK today. Quite an interesting number of riders there. And of course, the banner headline itself, we did say that it would be interesting to see where the G5 pitch their tent. Now we're hearing that they're demanding support for Tinubu.
Yeah, thank you very much. The permutations are on, the calculations are on, and I will not be surprised if eventually they swing the pendulum of their support for Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, because I want to say they are birds of the same feather. They are politicians of the same color, of the same shape, of the same ideology and orientation. When I read earlier in the week that there was the likelihood of the 5 governors supporting Peter Obi, I chuckled and I said to myself, will this actually materialize? I see them eventually supporting Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu because he has what to offer them. He speaks their language, and he'll be dangling carrot that they cannot resist. And it's likely they come to an agreement by virtue of the fact that he is likely being able to meet their demands. What will they need? They want assurances. What will be our relevance post 2023? Politicians, I tell people, when politicians are at the table of political discussions, what is uppermost in their mind is their permanent interest. How will you secure my future? How will I protect my estate? And what is in it for me, primarily? When they step out of the room, they talk about us, public interest. But ultimately, what is on the table for every politician is personal interest. Because the ultimate aim of every political endeavor is attainment of power. And they will likely, either you like it or not, the contest is between Atiku Abubakar, Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, Peter Obi, and Kwankwaso, in that order. So if Atiku is not on the table for them, the likelihood of them looking at Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu is much more than looking at Peter Obi. I mean, APC has governors, they have senators, they have House of Rep members. So this is a big thing for them, and a consideration that the likelihood of APC clinching it, if PDP does not get it, is higher than Labour Party getting it. Beyond sentiment, politicians are not sentimental. You know, politics is about data, it's about statistics, it's an arithmetic game. And they're going to put everything on the table because a wiki will not want to be out of power post-2023.
After all of his
That's right. The shenanigans, the antiques, and running his mouth on television and fighting everybody. He wants to be relevant. And so the likelihood of them, reaching an agreement or getting to an agreement with Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, I see it as a possibility.
Well, that's quite interesting coming up from the PDP. Since June, after the PDP's primary, there have been so much issues, so many stories surrounding the party, especially from Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State. Now, below that story, you see disturbing pictures there of President of Chikakore in Abuja scooping water from a hole in Abuja. That's a story on its own, but you have those pictures there. Is this a failure of the government to provide potable water for residents?
Yes, it's a testimony to the fact that we have decay and gap in our infrastructure. The infrastructural gap is so enormous that, you see, the issue of water, when I was growing up, it was fashionable for you to turn your tap in your home and you have access to public supplied water. But now it's no more fashionable. Everyone has to provide himself or herself with a borehole or with deep well or with a well. Or you go to the stream when you're in the village. It's virtually becoming something that is unheard of or something that is unfashionable, that is not common for public taps to run. So it speaks to the fact that we need to buckle up as a people, because water is an essential commodity that we need to live. But when you have a situation that water does not run, we see, like they say, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. You see streams of water, you see rivers, you hear humongous billions, like the drama playing out in Osun State now, of billions of naira and millions of dollars expended on Elisha Water Works, and there's no drop of water from any tap in Elisha. That's a testimony to the fact that there are issues.
And of course, there are issues, and those issues have been reverberating. Please do stay with us for the interview segment of the program today. We have some interesting conversations to have as a follow-up to yesterday's conversation. Now, moving on the Punch newspaper, at the bottom strip of the paper, Abuja court bars DSS others from arresting Emefiele. Killer cop suspended. NBA demands 5 billion naira compensation. And debt, telcos seek NCC approval to disconnect banks. Nigeria's had quite a number of CBN governors in the recent times. Emir Sanusi, Chukwuma Soludo. None of them have been as infamous, let me use that word, as Godwin Emefiele, from his supposed presidential ambition now to links to terrorism and sponsorship of insurgency. Is been in the news, and now the DSS is after him.
You know, for the first time in a long time, Emefiele will be the first CBN governor, if I'm right, to have spent 10 years straight as CBN governor in Nigeria. He got his second term. He got there before President Buhari was elected, and he got reappointed again. Then I think some people encouraged him to throw his hat in the ring of presidential context. We never heard about that before. That was an aberration for some of us. I didn't see it coming. We saw CBN as a sacred institution that whoever presides over it should insulate it against the arrows of politics.
Especially since it is also a custodian of sensitive materials.
That's right. But that didn't matter to him. He threw his hat in the ring, but he had to withdraw at an auspicious time. But he has let up the guard and actually stripped CBN of its shield, of its protection. And so that's actually a big challenge. And now that he's dancing, he has chosen to dance nakedly on the podium of politics. Any arrow thrown at him will be justified. And this melodrama about DSS guys arresting him and everything like that, it came as a surprise. And they were accusing him of terrorism, that he was sponsoring terrorism, and those are the allegations. And now that the court has barred DSS from arresting him, you see, there are intrigues behind intrigues. There are some people at the table plotting. He must have stepped on some big tools.
Yes, perhaps with the cash.
That's right, because of the cash policy. I wanted to teach him a lesson. And if you understand politicians, they are at the table every minute, every time plotting. Politics is a game of intrigues. That's what they do. When they sit down, they plot. Somebody told me that when you come together, you form caucuses, you plot somebody's downfall and somebody's rise. That's what they do. So I think those who are after him must have been plotting how best to get him behind bars and to take him out of their way. But now that he has gotten a court order, that's a relief for him, as it were. So he can breathe a breath of he can be a relief.
Well, we hope that this does not repeat itself and that sacred institution remains sacred. I can't imagine the INEC chairman wanting to run for a political office. It's going to be such a scandal. Now, still on the Punch newspaper before we leave there this morning, COVID-19 surge. Federal government rules out restricting travelers from China. Ajaokuta Steel projects 500,000 jobs, $1.6 billion annual revenue. And just besides the nameplate, the world mourns as Pele dies at 82. He's one of the greatest footballers of all times, dying at some would say a ripe age of 82. Now from the Punch newspaper again, we move over to the Nation newspaper this morning. The Nation newspaper is where we currently are. And the banner headline is similar to that of the Punch. G5 governor's position puts Atiku in tight corner. Why PDP can seek elders' intervention. Don't sanction Wike others. Those are the two riders you have under that banner headline this morning. It was probably not going to happen, the G5 supporting Atiku, but could that also be because of the Southern agenda?
Yes, it's one of those things. If you noticed, the G5 as a group has been very consistent in their demand for Southern presidency. And the Southern Governors Forum, earlier before the melodrama of politics kicked off, had made it categorically clear that it was the turn of the South to produce the president, and that they will not compromise producing the president. And that is what they've been tenacious about, they've been consistent about, and they've been hammering that it's time for the South to produce the presidency. Not Southwest, not South-South, not Southeast, but just the South generally. And I think it's one of the reasons, and they saw the margins of Atiku Abubakar as a betrayer of the convention, of the pact that they have. Because within the PDP, there's a written agreement or an unwritten convention that power will rotate between the South and the North. And President Buhari, having been in power for 8 years, some of them couldn't stomach the fact that another northern will succeed him. So that was one of the reasons they are using. But I must say, beyond that, personal interest is on the table, and who protects their interest is on the table.
Yeah, we did.
But I don't believe if Wike had gotten the vice presidential slot, this fight wouldn't have been on.
Yes, I think he had already shot himself in the leg by publicly announcing that he would never accept the vice presidential ticket. So that had ruled out that possibility from that equation. Or below that banner headline, Buhari loads bail on security project in Kogi. That's on page 4. And at the bottom strip, Sanwo-Olu IG promise open probe in Rahim's murder. Court stops Emefiele's arrest. Just above the nameplate, Lagos names preferred bidders for 4th mainland bridge. 30 billion naira for senators, reps, severance package in 2023 budget. Football legend Pele dies at 82. Defend yourselves against bandits, says governor. You find out which governor on page 28. Naseni partners firm. Before we go to the stories beneath the nameplate now, 30 billion naira has been earmarked for the severance package of senators and reps in the 2023 budget. Do we still need to do severance package for it? I mean, they already get to go with their cars, as it were. So what are the severance packages there?
You see, one fact that Nigerians must accept is the fact that the legislators, they have the yam and they have the knife. They have the power of appropriation. And they wield that power in their favor. So it is constitutional matter. It's entrenched that when they leave after serving for 4 years, they be paid a severance package that is mouth-watering. And the truth of the matter is that the fact that we are going through this dire strait, that the economy is in a cul-de-sac, is of no importance to an average politician. What bothers him or what is important to him, what am I going to take out of the national treasury? I mean, for my own comfort. We have seen it practiced, we have seen it said, and there's no remorse. They're not remorseful about it. So it will even shock you that it's going to be a priority. As they consider 2023 budget, I'm not there. I'm not privileged to be at the table. Them making it a point that, okay, is this done? This must be done. How do you protect this? It is unfortunate, but that is what it is. And until we have a rethink as a people that we are overgoverned, and the cost of governance in Nigeria is rather too much. That is why people are leaving the private sector, selling companies, going into politics. Can you imagine a managing director of a flourishing bank step down to contest an editorial seat? Because it's more comfortable. As a senator, you don't bother about fuel, about diesel, about the cost of dollar. It's of no importance to you because the system takes care of your daily living. The system feeds you, clothes you, takes care of your travel expenses, takes care of your children. So the juices appointment or space to be in Nigeria today is political space. You are insulated from the realities that you and I go through every day because it's a privileged position. And that's why the fat tooth and nail. That's why it's always a do or die affair to be in politics, to get political appointment or to get elected into public office. Once you are there, you can shout "Ruru" and just look at those. Oh, I'm sorry, those on the other side of the divide. Oh, God be with you too. We are here now. God has done our own.
Well, it's high time that the interest of the people trumps the interest of a collective few. Below the nameplate, tribunal upholds Ekiti Governor Oyebanji's victory. Mass burial for 7 victims, supposed 7 victims of the carnival in Calabar. Abiodun signs 472 billion naira 2023 budget into law, and tributes pour in for Ohanaeze Chief Obiozor. It was quite an interesting one in Ekiti yesterday. The tribunal striking out Segun Oni's petition against Oyebanji's victory.
Yes, that's not the end of the game. Oni has the opportunity to appeal. He can go to the Court of Appeal, and he's going to take it ultimately, if he wishes, to the Supreme Court, which is the Supreme Court of the land. But for now, Oyebanji can continue to rule or to govern as the executive governor of Ekiti State. But within the confines of Oni's fundamental human right, he can still appeal and pursue it up to Supreme Court. But it is a good thing that the people can heave a sigh of relief that for now nothing truncates the smooth run of government, and they can expect a dividend of democracy and nothing of stage governance in the Ekiti State. But for now, I see Oni appealing if he believes, and if his lawyers advise him that he has good grounds to contest the victory of Oyebanji.
Well, interesting days ahead in Ekiti. There's been some very interesting days here in Osun too, with the challenge of the July 16th governorship election by former Governor Adegboyega Oyetola, and of course his party, the All Progressives Congress. We'll move on away from the Nation newspaper this morning to the Daily Trust. Daily Trust newspaper also has its banner headline reading Tinubu strikes deal with G5 governors in London, pledges government of national unity, governors to remain in PDP. They will be sanctioned if, that's coming from the PDP, how alliance will affect Makinde autumn's ambitions, anxiety in Amechi's camp, as unpaid for quite a number of riders. But it's interesting, how would they remain in the PDP when they publicly endorse Asiwaju?
Well, the days ahead will be very interesting days, but it has happened before. I remember in 1992 in Lagos, or 1991, within the SDP, that was Social Democratic Party, Lateef Jakonde had a preferred candidate within the SDP, but the candidate didn't get it. But between Agbala Jobi and Dapo Sarumi, eventually his candidate lost. They couldn't get a ticket, and he openly endorsed Otedola. That was Otedola became governor of Lagos State. NRC. He was the underdog in the gubernatorial context. So politicians do these things. I said it earlier on. What is important to a politician is their permanent interest. Who protect my interest? Who further my interest? I'm doing this in furtherance of my political interest. How do I entrench my interest? How do I get relevant in the next political dispensation? How do I protect myself? So I see them endorsing Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu. That does not mean they will lead people by the nose to the ballot box, to thumbprint. But because in politics, they call politicians dog handlers. They have access to state resources. And money plays a critical role in who becomes the president, governor, senator, House of Rep in Nigeria. If anybody says or downplay the role of money in politics, the person must be living in fool's paradise. The reality is that because politicians have weaponized poverty, so they use it when it's important. Because those who vote are not probably you or and I. And there are people in the grassroots, people who are poor, the downtrodden, people who, when they see 10,000 naira, can you imagine, have you wondered why Wike did something that I consider a bit outrageous of appointing thousands of assistants, thousands of special advisors? That is strategic.
Same thing with Ben Ayade.
That's right. That is strategic. That you are working for me, you are going to police your polling unit, your ward, your local government. For me, I must deliver in furtherance of your political interest. If you don't deliver, you lose your office. So I see it as it's a possibility, and I see it as PDP. If they declare openly, PDP may wield the big stick of suspending them, but that will complicate the matter further. Because once they do that, then they are hand in glove against each other. They've been hand in glove. You know, there are also permutations, calculations, and under the table deals that please don't do this and stuff like that. But if they eventually do that, that means the chicken has come home to roost and there's nothing anymore. But I don't see how they're going to do that when you say for the presidency, vote Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu. For governorship, vote PDP candidate. For senatorial seat, vote. I don't know. It's going to be very clumsy, but trust politicians. Don't forget, presidential election will hold same day with senatorial and House of Rep member. So how will they communicate that to the largely illiterate electorate on which
who just want to vote
that's right, across board. And you'll be given 3 ballot papers simultaneously at the same time. So when you get to the Kubiku, can you differentiate between which one is for the presidential and which one is for senatorial and House of Rep member? So they are running a very dangerous game. A very dangerous game. But politicians, don't put anything past them. Masters of the game.
Interestingly, 2 of the G5 governors will be on the ballot next year.
Yes.
Governor Seyi Makinde is seeking re-election.
Yes.
Samuel Ortom is aspiring to the Senate. How would this affect their chances?
Honestly speaking, I am very close to Oyo State. I was actually born there 50-something years ago. And so I'm interested. I love Oyo.
Oh, it's your birthday in a few days.
Yes,
so,
yes, my birthday
please, producers, take note of that. We're having a party.
Yeah. Thank you very much. What I'm just saying is this. Makinde may likely come back. From what I can see on the ground, I think he has done fairly well. And the people of Oyo State are in love with him. He may likely come back. Unless so bigwigs. I don't know how he managed to secure the political confidence of Adewale Ladoja. Because after the demise of Baba Adedibu, I think Adewale Ladoja has succeeded in making himself the political godfather of Ibadan politics. Yes, don't forget, he threw his weight behind Makinde for his first time election, and I think they are still in bed for this next election. So if that continues, and I think Makinde has successfully studied Ibadan politics, despite the fact that there are this quietness everywhere, people are not happy, some politicians, but with the electorate, with the common people on the street, the name on their lips is Seyi Makinde. So he may likely win. I don't know about the other governor, but Oyo State, I think that no matter what happens with the presidential, he may likely win. Come back as governor.
2023. February is just about 2 months from now, and all of this will unravel itself in due course. Below that story, there's a picture of Pelé, the Brazilian footballer who was died at the age of 82. And just down that story, Kano community rejects imam appointed by village head. Obi's new campaign, DG quits senatorial race on ZLP platform. Woman, child traveling to granny's burial die in Abuja auto crash. Akin Osuntokun, former aide to Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, was appointed DG of the Labour Party's presidential campaign council, but interestingly was still a senatorial candidate of another political party.
That's what I told you, politicians, and you can't put anything past them. They are ready to crisscross. And yes, it's, I don't know. I don't know how strong a political figure Akin Osuntokun is in Ekiti politics, not of Southwest politics, of Nigerian politics. But, you know, he's been with, he was with Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, special advisor, or was he a minister or special advisor at one time or the other. And he writes well. I read his column, and then he's a public commentator. And I think he fit the billing for the Labour Party. The Labour Party rides on waves of public opinion. They are on social media. They are with the likes of Akin Osuntokun, on the pages of newspaper or social media, but who you cannot actually ascribe serious political efficacy to them. I may be wrong, but he's been chosen. Now, this was a guy who had a ticket of another political party, and now he's the DG after my very good Egbon and Oga after he stepped aside after the court judgment. But I don't know, it's trying his luck. It's trying his luck. But I'm actually more interested in the demise of Pelé. You know, Pelé, that's the king of the game.
King of the game, yes. The only player to win
three World Cups. Yes. And beyond that, it was I put Pelé in the bracket of Muhammad Ali. Those who brought color, opulence, splendor, character into sport. You know, Pelé, he died at 82. He lost the battle to cancer, and he died in the midst of his children. And I expected this about 3 days ago. I read when his children gathered, he would have been told by doctors that he must be breathing. Yeah, that's right. So it's unfortunate. And what Mbappe said actually captures it all, that the king has gone home to rest. He is not the king of football, and he did his bit, and he did his best. We will continue to remember Pelé. Whatever you do on the field of play,
he has done it.
He has done it before. We make reference to Pelé did this, Pelé did this, Pelé did this, and he was a very emotional person. He was very emotional. I saw clips of him carrying the torch and crying. He was very emotional. Each time he was called upon for honor, you could see him crying, tears of joy. But he was a successful man. You need to study the trajectory of his life. He came from a very poor background, very poor, and he rose to that level of national and international prominence. He brought honor, he brought grace to his country, Brazil. And the place of God in his life actually attached to him. Anytime Pelé was privileged to speak about his career, he asked that question rhetorically. God gave me this talent. I don't know why. Because he was a very talented footballer. He dribbles. And,
scores.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He was football in the flesh of defenders.
Football is I can
Pelé
say,
was football. Football was Pelé.
Yes. Because growing up, those were I heard just two names: Pelé, Maradona. In fact, a lot of politicians are named after this player.
That's right.
Outside his immediate sphere of football, he still had relevance in other sectors.
Yeah, you know, he was international ambassador to United Nations, even beyond football.
Yes. It's a sad one there, but I'm sure his children will be rejoicing too. He's free from the pains of cancer now, and may so rest in peace. Below the nameplate of the Daily Trust, before we move on, botched airlines shuts down Nigeria Air, others shaped aviation in 2022. A court stops DSS, IGP, others from arresting CBN Governor Emefiele. That story would never not be funny to me. The last paper we're taking this morning is The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper has an entirely different banner headline, not about Asiwaju now. It says, banks face angry customers as network glitches mar holidays. UTAUT tests resilience of e-payment infrastructure. Financial institutions pay over 3 billion naira claims in 6 months. Subscribers decry persistent drop calls, undelivered SMS, illegal deductions. Out in appeals to customers as NatComs seeks compensation. That's the story this morning. It's terrible when you look at the problems customers face with network glitches, failed transactions, a lot of unsent, undelivered SMSs and all of that. And it's really crippling the Nigeria's drive towards a cashless policy.
I think it's very typical when we are on public holidays, Nigerians go through this. And that tells you that the volume of transactions on e-platforms is much more during public holiday than physical transactions. That means we need to widen the horizon of that e-platform, because most often than not, banks closed at 12,
yes,
3 o'clock, and they shut their doors. Even before now, because of the problem of diesel, they close around 3 o'clock, most banks. And this cannot but happen. And I see this easing out as soon as holiday season are over, and we resume in January. But for now, most often than not, we transfer, we don't go to the bank. And that tells us that if we are serious about e-banking, we need to work on the bank, on the infrastructure that will deliver on that, the back end. We have to work on the back end of the infrastructure that will deliver on that. That will deliver. There is no this thing. It's about network. It's about infrastructure, telecommunication infrastructure. We need to strengthen that. We need to up our scale as far as that is concerned, so that this one is going to happen, that we can deliver it smoothly. Every nation of the world is moving towards cashless economy. It's the best for Nigeria. We don't need to carry cash. Number one, it limits crime and criminality. Then it's safer. Then it brings us closer. The world is no more a global village. I was told in mass communication class that the world is a global village. The world is now a family under one roof. Under one roof. So, and courtesy of technology is very prevalent everywhere now. So we need to strengthen that. We need to build more optical fiber to ensure that we deliver on these transactions. I need to penetrate villages, because I come from a village called Oraibumino. There's no bank in the neighborhood because armed robbers have chased all the banks out of the hinterland. No, people need cash for transactions. So if we are serious about e-banking, about cashless economy, we need to penetrate these villages. We need to penetrate the internet so that they need to transact. They need to do business.
Well, that should be done by relevant authorities, I'm very sure, and they should do it as soon as possible. Below that story, US, Europe, China in race, renewed scramble for continent attention. Some persons have said some of these things happening is just new colonialism. We're going back to the days of the bigger continents dividing Africa between themselves. Is that how you see it?
That's how I see it, and I'm very, very passionate about that. And it's a very unfortunate thing. The president of Rwanda said something as an international forum recently, when he said that it's unfortunate that most often the North, big powers, the big economies, they beckon on us as African leaders to discuss African issues outside Africa. But at no time we Africans call themselves to congregate at a table to discuss African issues. We have this receivership mentality as a people. We believe that the British, the Americans, the Germans will receive our chestnut from fire for us to eat and consume. We have to take responsibility for ourselves. An average American or an American government will not intervene in a situation if there's no interest to protect. That is the principle of international diplomacy. permanent interest, no permanent friend. So each time you can see when you crisscross between South America, so in South Africa to West Africa, there's nothing to show for our enormous resources, for our natural resources, blessings from God. We tell stories of poverty, of lack, of want, because we have not gotten our act together. We are dependent on these colonial powers. And from the Berlin Conference, they've always been interested in dividing us for their pure economic interest. It's not in our interest when they get involved. If an average world superpower says they're going to spend $1 billion in Africa in a year, if you sit down and do the analysis and the breakdown of the spending, more than 2/3 of that spending will be spent within their country, not actually on us. It's just that it's as simple as that. Until African leaders get it right, we come together and do away with our receivership mentality, waiting for donor agencies, waiting for grants to drop from one country or the other. Then we sit down and find internal solution to our internal problems and work shoulder to shoulder. We don't do that more often. We kowtow to them, we bow to them, they intimidate us because they know how weak we are. But if as a people, we are very proud of ourselves, then self-esteem, self-confidence is what we hold dear, and we get our act together as a people. Perhaps there's hope for Africa, but as it were, as long as we look up to them for sustenance, for grant, for loan, now we continue and persist. It's neocolonialism.
Well, really sad that we're at that point in this time, seeking for crumbs from these superpowers as the were. Buhari justifies $400 million spent to revive ASC, that's the Ajaokuta Steel Company. And below the nameplate on the Guardian newspaper this morning, again, court bars DSS others from harassing, inviting, arresting. Emefiele, interesting. Three issues there: harassing, inviting, and arresting. So now he's protected even from invitation.
He's insulated completely.
Completely. Wonderful. That's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Wike G5 mused over final notice to IU Southern Governors Lagos Declaration. That's on page 3. Tribunal opposed Oyebanji's election as Ekiti governor, and soccer legend Pele passes during long battle with cancer. But that's the much we can take on the papers this morning. We're not leaving yet. Dr. Adefila, if I were to put you on the spot and say a lot of things have happened in 2022, politics, sport, and economy, what would be your standout moments, say 5 standout moments for this year?
The Ukraine-Russian war. That was a table shaker when it happened. And if you like it or not, it created a lot of ripples effect in the economy of the world. I'm here in Oshobo. I'm paying a price for the Ukraine-Russian war by virtue of how much I buy a liter of diesel. That's how the world is wired. So it's a major, major issue for me. Then, of course, I think we got out of COVID-19 this year. Last year, we were still covering our doses and everything like that. So it's a major, major thing. But the major issue, like I said, the world is no more a global village. It's now a family under one roof. So whatever happens to whatever happens to another country, it has a resultant effect on all other nations of the world. So it's a major event that actually caused a lot of ripples effects in year 2022.
Well, that's where really my personal moments are quite many, up to about 20. So I don't have the time to outline them. I'm just going to say that it was quite interesting to see the APC presidential primaries play out.
Yes.
Shibajo against his former employer, Asiwaju Tinubu, and of course, the threat of impeachment against President Buhari was also highlighted. But he could not have seen the light of the day. We have APC more in the House, both chambers of the
impeachment threat is what senators use to whip presidents to lie in Nigeria. Most of them, they're not. They just back. Most of them, they don't bite.
Well, I hope that one day a president will really get impeached.
Yeah.
We'll get to see, but for good reasons and not political reasons. Well, we'll leave it at that this morning on the newspaper review segment. When we come back, we will be revisiting an issue that is causing ripples in Osun State. Yesterday, the project consultant of the Elisha Water Project accused the House of Assembly of requesting a $5 million bribe and, of course, attempting to blackmail her with the quality of her work if she does not, part with that money. There have been some reactions from the House of Assembly. We'll be bringing you the spokesperson of the Assembly, hopefully to make a sense of that response and give us an informed position of the House. But we'd like to thank Dr. Femi Adefila for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And we wish you a happy birthday in advance.
Thank you so very much.
Have a wonderful. I call him Femi. I hear him Femi. We'll see you after this break.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. I packed A to Z. Check and confirm. Eva is pounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Bẹ́gùn bá jáde, mọ̀rìnwó la kọ́kọ́ rí, ọwọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ ní síwájú ìjó, ẹsẹ̀ kàtàkàtà ní síwájú rìn, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti ń gbúrò wa, a tún ti dé náà nù. Ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò Owambe Unlimited. Pẹ̀lú èmi ọmọ yín, olólùfẹ́ yín, ọ̀rẹ́ yín, Suliat tẹ́túmọ̀ sí Morenikeji. Ẹ lè pè mí ní Susu, tó bá wẹ̀ lómi, a sọ pé ìyálòde àríyá, gbogbo orúkọ tẹ́ ẹ bá pè mí. Kò sí èyí tí mi ò ní jẹ yín. Ẹ farabalẹ̀, kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò Owambe Unlimited lórí ìkànnì Western Spring Television ní ìkànnì 190. Ibẹ̀ ni Owambe Unlimited ń bọ̀ wá, ẹ fàpùrẹ̀ tẹ̀dí, kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò àríyá wa.
Mo ń sọ fún yín pé ẹ máa wo Owambe Unlimited lórí Western Spring Television.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Turn it up. It's the Wild Wild West.
And Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girls got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Can you imagine the feeling when you get your news as the break with facts and clarity? Our news are reported as it is.
In Africa, and all those who masterminded the way it happened, we have to pay a price.
Enjoy Western programs, projecting culture and tradition to the world. Brought to you as the break and recapped every hour for your update.
We must never forget the sacrifices of the heroes of Nigeria's
All right, thank you very much for joining us and for staying with us on Morning Spring on Western Spring Television here in Osun State. We're reaching you live from channel 190 on StarTimes DTT, and of course you can follow us on all our social media platforms, our Facebook and Instagram, Western Spring Television, on YouTube at Western Spring Television. Do well to subscribe to our channel, of course, on Twitter at WSTV_NG. We finished the newspaper review leg of the program. Now we're in the interview segment, and we did say that we're bringing you a response to what happened yesterday. I'm joined in the studio, live in the studio, by the chairman, the Committee for Media and Publicity at the Osun State House of Assembly, member representing Olorunda State Constituency, Honorable Kunle Akande. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
It's good to have you join us on the show this morning.
It is my pleasure too.
Okay, so let's get down straight to business. Before we do that, I'd like to show you the reason you are here this morning. Yesterday, we spoke to the project consultant in charge of the Elisha water project, and she had some very interesting comments, some weighty allegations. Our producers have that clip, that interview ready for us. I would like to play it for you so that you can really hear what she said yesterday. So we'll have that clip put up on the screen right away. So that moment. By the house.
Well, the house is asking for $5 million. And I said, I don't have $5 million to give to anybody.
$5 million to, I'd like you to be very clear. The house asked you for $5 million to do what?
Yes, they asked me for $5 million. And I said, I don't have $5 million to give to nobody.
Was it for the water project or for something else differently? What was the money supposed to do?
For themselves, they're asking for takeaway grants. And they are saying that they will go to the press and say that the quality of work we have done is not good and this and that. And I told them, 1 year ago, you were on the site. You were commending us. Now you will go back to the press and say that we have not done well. What will be your reason?
For the sake of our viewers and for clarity purpose, you are saying now that the House of Assembly demanded a $5 million bribe from you, otherwise they would blackmail you to the press and say that the quality of work done is wrong?
Yes.
Okay. Now
I am saying it from all sense of responsibility.
This or did it come from the House as a whole or some individuals? Was the Speaker involved? Can you name names?
Not from the House on the whole. The chairman of the House Committee on Water Supply and some of the committee, they called us. I was not alone. They called us to the meeting. And they were saying that we didn't give them money. And I said, I don't have money to give to them. The money I have is to do the job.
Did you make this allegation known to the government of the day at the time?
The government has just left. The new one just came in. No, we have not even met the new one.
Oyetola was in power, I suppose, when that demand was made. Did you report to him?
No, Oyetola has just left. As I said, Oyetola has just left. The new one just came in.
Okay.
And they called us to the House of Assembly.
Here in
fact, the letter they wrote to us, they are saying that we should come and meet the whole house. The letter they wrote to us, they are saying that we should come and meet the whole house. But when we got there, we didn't see the whole house. We met a few people with the chairman of the House Committee. In fact, after I have told them that we don't have money, they called all the contractors to come and discuss with them.
Do you have a date for this? When did it happen? You have a letter to that effect. What letter? What date was it?
We have a letter, but it's not here with me. I'm in Lagos. Okay. We have a letter to that effect.
All right. If you can avail us that letter, it will be very, very nice. But you've just said the chairman of the House Committee on Water Resources and Sanitation was part of those who asked you for that $5 million bribe.
Yes.
All right, so I really want us to move away from that, but you are making allegations of blackmail now, that if you're not parting out with that money, you will be blackmailed and say that the job you've done is wrong.
They were boasting that they will go to the press, they will tell them that we have not done a good job. They were even boasting that they will go to site and disrupt what we have done.
Now, those are some strong allegations. Now, the persons who made this, were they on that team that followed you in 2020? Do you recognize them? Were they part of that team?
Yeah, they were part of the team. They were part of it. They were all part of it.
Okay.
They were all part of it.
All right, we'll move away from that. Now, the government of the day, the Adeleke government, is saying that some of the money they were diverted. Okay, they want to ensure that it was not diverted. Well, that's it. That was the conversation yesterday with Engineer Tawa Williams, the consultant in charge of the Elisha Water Project. She has been in the eye of the storm recently. A few days ago, Governor Ademola Adeleke suspended her and the work ongoing at that site, that project. Now, let's come back to the studio and speak to the spokesperson of the Assembly. I am aware that there was an emergency meeting. There was a plenary yesterday, and that this matter was discussed fully under matters of urgent public importance. How did the House receive this information, this allegation?
It was a very grave allegation, and we all felt very worried that such a reckless statement could have come from a consultant, a so-called consultant of that caliber. Personally, I was amazed and amused that how could you be asking for what you do not have? What do I mean by this? If you are a taxi driver or you are a vulcanizer and you raise the alarm that you were being deprived, you were being robbed of 2-3 million naira, the first question that will come to mind is, how did you come about that sum? We are talking of a project of $2 million, and somebody is alleging that the house is asking for $5 million.
The entire project is valued at $106 million.
The specific project we are talking about is $2 million.
Okay.
You know, and it behoves, it is ridiculous for the house under whatever guise, to demand for $5 million. $5 million, you are talking of about 7 billion naira. It's unthinkable. And I imagine that she will need to re-examine herself. The house is a house of laws. We have integrity. The particular person whose character has been impugned now is the oldest person in the house. We all respect him because of his integrity. We all adore him. He couldn't have ever raised, he couldn't have made such a ridiculous demand.
Yes. So was it that the amount is the problem now, or there was no demand? Was there a demand?
There couldn't have been. There was no basis for it. She has a penchant. I mean, those of us who have, some of our colleagues have worked with her when she was in the cabinet. She is the blackmailer and not the House of Assembly. The House of Assembly has a responsibility to carry out oversight functions. In the process of carrying out the oversight functions, the House could discover a few things that needed to be amended, a few things that you need to put in more effort. And those are some of the jobs that they went to do there. The Speaker directed that committee to go and do its oversight function. And it was in the process that they found some things that she needed to explain about. And the Speaker, in his wisdom, ordered that she should report to the House.
When was that order made?
That was last month. She must be lying about, when you asked her, did you report to the governor? Oyetola was still in government when the oversight function was carried out.
Yes, because I have here, as of the 25th of this month, the House summoned the consultant and contractor and the Ministry of Water Resources to appear before the lawmaker. That was on the 25th. And the date given was that they should all appear before the Assembly on Tuesday, 29th of November. That's 2 days after inauguration of Governor Ademola Adeleke. Oyetola had left office there. And she did say that at the time she met with the committee, Oyetola was no longer in power. So how recent was the oversight function carried out by the Committee on Water Resources?
I cannot be specific about it, but I knew it was in November, early part of November. So if there was such a demand, she ought to have reported to the executive. There could never have been such a demand.
Okay, so now what led to the summons, this particular summon that was issued on the 25th?
We felt that she had been delaying. The project has been delayed for too long. And each time they want to call her attention, she was always delaying unnecessarily. And the Speaker is even from that area. Everybody was bothered that how could this project with such a huge amount of money be on for so many years without any trace of completion.
Now, was there actually a meeting between Engineer Tawa Williams and her team and the Committee on Water Resources?
Of course there was.
Are you privy to the content of the meeting? What came up at that meeting, the discussion? Have you interfaced with Honorable Nasiru Olatunji? Has he briefed you on some of the things that were discussed at that meeting?
That was precisely what they discussed. How could this project be completed on time? How could this project be done as it is supposed to be done? Part of their oversight function was to ensure that there was complete compliance with specifications of the job. Nothing more.
So did it even come up, perhaps as a joke, for instance, if you want us to endorse your work, you have to give it. Could it be a joke that was now taken seriously by Engineer Williams?
In fact, I had to ask the honorable member that did you at any point in time ask her for any form of, gratification or what you call reception, and he said at his age, with what he has acquired in life, this was a personal discussion with the chairman, that he had built whatever house he needed to build again in his life. And you will never see him hire a labor to dig ground and say, I want to erect a building. He's a contented man. He's a man of integrity. We all adore him. He said he never, ever asked her for any form of gratification.
Well, could it have been other members of the committee then?
I am talking about what I know. I personally spoke with him. The other members of the committee are equally men of integrity. They couldn't have asked her for anything. Rather than calling us blackmailers, she is the one that is blackmailing the house. And it's her antecedent.
Well, you are like us to be very careful with our choices of words. But you were in the media before you got into politics, and we are aware of some of the things that the media can be used for. There are two allegations now: the allegation of the bribe demand and that of blackmail. Where was she threatened with, going to the press to say, "Look, the work you've done is bad"?
It is not part of our stock and trade as lawmakers. That's a house of laws. Why would you want to go to the press to blackmail anybody? If we are sure that you are doing a shoddy job, we'll lay the report before the house. The house will debate it. Maybe in the course of debate, reporters can pick their stories from there. But certainly, we could not have said, if you don't do this, we'll go to the press. For what?
Well, in 2020, which is what she also referenced to, late 2019, early 2020, the House of Assembly Committee on Water Resources went on a tour with Engineer Tawa Williams' team around Ilesha to look at the project. Incidentally, I was on that team, and at the end of the entire meeting, the entire tour, the committee gave sort of a pass mark. They were impressed with what they had seen. That was in 2020, and she said that she gave explanations as to why the work had been delayed. So what changed between 2020 and now 2022, that despite the explanations she had given, that the House felt it wasn't satisfied with the level of work done?
If you have done well, it is only normal that you should be commended for doing well. And if you turn around to do badly, we should be able to tell you straight to your face that you are not doing well. That's precisely what has happened. The Speaker and every member of the House is worried about the delay in the completion of the project, and they can, through their oversight functions, point all of these anomalies out.
During that meeting, did she give a satisfactory enough answer? Because she said that she met with the committee, and there was sort of an interface between them, and she explained some things to them.
Incidentally, I wasn't privy to that particular meeting, but all I know is that collectively as a House of Assembly, if anything goes wrong, the committee will be able to point it out. And that's precisely what they have done.
All right, so now let's talk about the other aspect of allegation now, which is actually the blackmail. And for some time now, the House has, after that meeting with the House, was there any official statement by the Assembly as to, okay, this is the discussion we had with Engineer Tawa Williams? The meeting, I suppose, held on the 29th of November. This is the 30th of December, about a month later. Was there any release, any official communication as to, okay, we've interrogated this woman and this is where the work is at the moment?
No. The committee reports directly to the Speaker before the whole House. And if there was any anomaly, it is the prerogative of the Speaker to summon or to invite the consultant to the floor of the House. So I wouldn't know if there was any report, so to speak, that could have emanated from the House or from the Speaker. If there was any need, the Speaker would have laid it before the entire House.
Okay, so we'll go on a very quick break now, a very short break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Honorable Kunle Akande, who is the chairman, the House Committee on Media and Publicity. We've been discussing some of the allegations made against the House of Assembly by the project consultant handling the Ilesha Water Project, Engineer Tawa Williams. She has accused the House of demanding a $5 million bribe and, of course, of blackmail. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Do stay with us.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Eva is pounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast. Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Bẹ́gùn ọba jáde mọ̀rìnwó lákọ́kọ́ rí ọwọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ ní síwájú ìjó ẹsẹ̀ katakata ní síwájú rìn bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti ń gbúrò wa a tún ti dé náà nù ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò Owambe Unlimited pẹ̀lú èmi ọmọ yín olólùfẹ́ yín ọ̀rẹ́ yín Suliat tẹ́túmọ̀ sí Morenikeji ẹ lè pè mí ní Susu tó bá wẹ̀ lómi a sọ pé ìyálòde àríyá gbogbo orúkọ tẹ́ ẹ bá pè mí kò sí èyí tí mi ò ní jẹ yín ẹ farabalẹ̀ kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò Owambe Unlimited lórí ìkànnì Western.
All right, welcome back to the program. It's still Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, where we bring you conversations as they are, when they drop, and where they drop from. We're still having discussions around yesterday's event that has caused ripples in Osun State. The House of Assembly stands accused of demanding a $5 million bribe from a project consultant, engineer Tawa Williams. And that's not all. She has also accused them of attempting to blackmail her with the quality of her work if she refuses to part with the money. And we're discussing with the member representing Olorunda State constituency, who happens to be the spokesperson of the House of Assembly. Now, we'll continue with the conversation. You have said that you were told by Honorable Nasir Olateju that he did not demand that certain amount from Engineer Tawa Williams. You know, this is a reported speech. You were not at the meeting, as you've said. You did not have access to what happened at the meeting. Could there be any element of truth to what Engineer Tawa Williams is? Because for her to have made the allegations, she probably has a reason. She probably has details of those conversations. Do you think that there could be some sort of misrepresentation of the figure? Maybe it wasn't up to $5 million that was demanded. Maybe it was just some sort of amount that was asked, from her.
There is no basis of truth in what she said. The House couldn't have demanded for any amount of money for doing its oversight functions. As a matter of fact, the place you go on an oversight function will go out of its way to provide snacks or food or whatever. Once the committee gets to a place where it wants to do its oversight function and it does it perfectly, it leaves. The committee does not, on any account. I am the chairman of House Committee on Information and Publicity. I have visited some of the media houses that were owned by the government on oversight functions, and we never made any demand. They never even gave us Coke. So why would Honorable Nasir Olateju ask for any gratification? I can vouch for him because he's one of those that are very close to me in the House of Assembly. He could never, ever have made it such a demand.
Can you vouch for other members of the committee? Because you are vouching for Honorable Ateju based on your
all of us as members,
on your personal relationship. What about the others? Could they have asked her for the money and probably tied it to the fact that they are members of the committee and the chairman sent them? Could that be a possibility?
There is no possibility. All of us are men of laws. We are working as lawmakers. We know what integrity we carry. None of us will want to belittle himself by asking for any gratification from any executive of a parastatal.
Well, the other allegation that she made was that the committee called the contractors in charge of the project after she refused to part with the money. But let me ask now, if she had agreed or she had offered to pay the money, would the committee have collected it?
My brother, the sum you are talking about is outrageously beyond my comprehension.
Well, if she had offered it, would they have collected?
They couldn't have demanded, let alone collect. They would never have demanded 3 billion naira. I mean, it's outrageous.
Okay, so how about the aspect of calling the contractors? Were any contractors called? Because the meeting, the statement of the House was that the consultant and the contractor and the Ministry of Water Resources should appear before the lawmaker. And the speaker warned that if they failed to appear, the House may order their arrest. Now, the contractors, were they also contacted by the House?
There is always a synergy within ministries and parastatals, the MDAs. If there's a road project that you want to oversight, to carry out oversight functions, there is a tendency for you to call the ministry, for you to call the agency that is responsible, for you to call the contractors that are responsible. So when that happens, it's normal. It's the kind of synergy that is expected to give detailed information about what is going on within that particular agency of government.
So how is the mood like in the House of Assembly at the moment?
Well, we were all agitated, seriously agitated when she made that wild allegation yesterday. And everybody kept asking, is it possible? Is it feasible? But some of our colleagues who have worked with her while in cabinet rose up to say they were not surprised that that was her stock in trade. And whenever she's drowning, she want to hold on to whatever is left to hold.
Now, the Assembly said it was not satisfied with the quality of work, what is going on with the Elisha Water Project, and all those involved, especially the Ministry of Water Resources, the consultant. Now, before Governor Adeleke suspended Engineer Tara Williams and the project itself, was the House going to take any step in that direction?
Of course, her statement won't stop the House from taking steps. We have resolved that despite what looked like a blackmail to us, we will still dig deep to find out if what she's doing is what she ought to do. And if she's failing in that regard, we'll still write our reports.
And if she has very valid reasons, explanations for some of those failures?
We will accept if she has valid reasons. But that won't stop us from doing our job as representatives of the people.
So at plenary yesterday, the matter of urgent public importance, what were some of the resolutions reached by the Assembly? What regarding this issue and other issues, what did the House of Assembly decide to do on the matter?
The House has given her a 24-hour ultimatum to retract her statement, failure which the House will take further steps, particularly a legal action against her.
What if, for example, perchance, this woman can prove these allegations? Where does that put you with all the talks of integrity, with all the talks of vouching for the members of Assembly? Where does that put you as a person and as the House generally?
First of all, I'd like to tell you that he who alleges must be able to prove. I am sure she does not have an iota of proof.
You are very confident about that?
Very confident. If she has, let her bring it to the table.
Both at the meeting itself and afterwards?
Yes.
Personal conversations with the lawmakers?
I am very convinced that she has no proof to substantiate whatever allegations she had made against the House of Assembly, particularly the Committee on Water Resources.
Okay. So if you're saying she doesn't have any proof now, are you saying that because you know she doesn't have, or because you've been told by those involved that she doesn't have any proof?
Well, let her come and present her proofs.
Okay, so now that the House is in this precarious situation now, the House of Assembly should not be, mired in some of these scandals like this. How do you think this affects the public perception of the House? Because whether you like it or not, this is not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, our integrity has been maligned. And that is why we didn't summon her to the House. We want the law court to take the normal necessary action to determine who is lying and who is not lying. So we have resolved that if she does not retract her statement within 24 hours, we'll take her to court.
And is there any possibility of a sit down to sort out issues if she's perhaps remorseful, like you're saying, if she lied or she misrepresented? Could she come to you and try to sort of mend fences?
In public glare, yes. It won't be behind closed doors. She will make fences and the public will know about it.
All right. So, Honorable Akande, before I let you go, next year is going to be quite interesting in terms of politics and all of that. And there are some intrigue surrounding the House of Assembly. Some persons not coming back and some persons, not having tickets to come back. Issues like this could, affect the political chances of some of the lawmakers, particularly those who are seeking re-election. What do you say about the circumstances regarding the politicking?
We are not happy that only 14 of us have been given a second term ticket or third term or fourth term, as the case may be.
Out of 26?
Out of 23.
23.
Of
You're talking about the APC now?
APC.
Okay.
But we are very confident that given the performances of our party and given our own commitments to our constituents, we are very confident that we will still have the majority. We are doing everything that is humanly possible to ensure that we gain acceptability of the populace.
All right, so I'd like to take you just a little bit away from the Engineer Tao Williams issue now. As it is now, the House of Assembly is still, firmly in the hands of the APC. And there are reports that you've been briefed that if Governor Adeleke brings any request for a loan, you should not accede to that request. Have you received any such official communication?
No. I still wonder why people think there should be friction between the executive and the legislature. They are two distinct bodies.
This statement was made by an APC stalwart, a former commissioner in the state.
If there is need to take a loan and it is brought to the notice of the House will consider it. Look at the merit and demerit. If we have to approve, we will. If we don't have to approve, we'll turn it down.
So it has nothing to do with politics?
No.
All right. Would like to thank you very much for joining us on the show. But just again, I'd like to ask you, is there anything you want to declare about this issue? Are you in possession of any information, perhaps, about, this request for $5 million?
Honestly speaking, it took everybody aback. We knew it didn't happen, and we knew it couldn't have happened. So we were like, hey, how could somebody expect us to ask for 3 billion naira?
I mean, do you have issues with the figures?
It's not just the figure. Okay. It's the scandalous attitude. This is a place where everybody holds his head high. And we are proud to say that as APC representatives in the House of Assembly, we are incorruptible.
The committee is not just people with APC members, you know.
The House of Assembly is a house of integrity, a house of laws.
All right. All right. So we'd like to leave it at that. You heard the response of the House of Assembly to allegations made by Engineer Tawa Williams. The House is denying categorically and is threatening to take legal actions if those statements are not withdrawn. We'll wait to see how that plays out. But I'd like to thank you very much, Honorable Moshood. I can still call you Moshood. That's your name.
Sure.
Kunle Moshood Akande, Chairman, House Committee on Media and Publicity. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning.
It is a pleasure.
All right, well, that's the interview segment of the show. That's what we do here on Morning Spring. We bring you information from both sides, on all sides that there is to a conversation, and try to help you make sense of it. Let's remind you that all of this started a few days ago when Governor Ademola Adeleke suspended the project consultant for the Ilesha Water project, Engineer Tawa Williams. The entirety of the project is valued at $106 million, as some grants from the federal government running into about $41.94 million, and of course some loan from the Islamic Development Bank running to about 64 thereabout $million. And that has led to a lot of revelations, and we hope we know for a fact that in the coming days there will be more discussions on this particular issue, and we'll bring it to you as it drops and when it drops. My name is Emmanuel Ujadigele. I'll be coming back after this break to bring you who and what is trending, why they are trending, and what people are saying about the who, what, and why. Do stay with us.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Bẹ́gùn bá jáde mọ̀rìnwó lákọ́kọ́ rí ọwọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ ní síwájú ìjó ẹsẹ̀ kàtàkàtà ní síwájú rìn bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti ń gbúròó wa a tún ti dé náà nù ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò Owambe Unlimited pẹ̀lú èmi ọmọ yín olólùfẹ́ yín ọ̀rẹ́ yín Suliat tẹ́túmọ̀ sí Mọ́rẹ́níkejì ẹ lè pè mí ní Sùsù tó bá wẹ lómi a sọ pé ìyálòdì àríyá gbogbo orúkọ tẹ́ ẹ bá pè mí kò sí èyí tí mi ò ní jẹ yín ẹ farabalẹ̀ kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò Owambe Unlimited lórí ìkànnì Western Spring Television ní ìkànnì 190 ibẹ̀ ni Owambe Unlimited ń bọ̀ wá ẹ fàkùrẹ̀ tẹ̀dí kẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn ètò àríyá wa.
Wọ́n sọ fún yín pé ẹ máa wo Owambe Unlimited lórí Western Spring Television.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions, it appears, no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila, and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West. And Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girl got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news.
Adun la zong me on da 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 da. Din da 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 da. Anyway, you're welcome to the show this morning. It's Spring Trends on Western Spring Television, and my name is Emmanuel Ujadigele. It's time to bring you who's trending, why they're trending, what is trending, and what people are saying about the who, the what, the why, and the how. It's just 2 days to the new year. I'm so excited. I'm very excited to be moving away from 2022, leaving all of this stress behind, and jumping into the new year. So let's get straight to business. We begin on the political front this morning. Yesterday, we got information coming out of Rivers State that Governor Nyesom Wike, the governor of the state, has had his wings clipped. Now, let's put it on screen for you and show you what happened in Rivers. There was a breaking news story that the official PDP National has discarded the party agent list submitted by Governor Wike, and they accepted the party agent list from the chairman of the Rivers State Presidential Campaign Management Council, Senator Lee Mabah. Remember that Governor Wike and Lee Mabah are at loggerheads. Now, furthermore, by this notice, Wike does not have party agents from the unit level and has no hold on the party. The lessons to cut the shabby wings of Governor Nyesom Ezenwo Wike has just begun. The last part is Wike does not have party agents that is approved by the party and INEC to stand for them on election day. Somebody shout, lessons. Well, if you've been following the story, you know that Governor Wike has been in the eye of the storm recently since he lost the PDP presidential primaries. He's been crying about it and going on and on about how things haven't gone his way. But then that's his story, that's his business. And he's currently in UK with the other 4 G5 governors to determine who they will support. So let's see what people are saying about that particular issue on social media this morning. We begin with Son of Saraki Mekano Boy. Son of Saraki Mekano Boy says, we won't allow one man single-handedly decide that, oh, well, that's bad grammar, by the way, decide the fate of millions of people. We're a democratic party with proper rules and regulations. Next comment is from Chile David. It says, you can't be disregarding an institution as strong and big as PDP and want to be going totally free without consequences. There would be consequences sooner or later. There surely would be consequences. Next comment is coming from Jimo Isiak. As the crisis in the party will take another dimension, obviously. The coming days will be entertaining as much as they will be interesting. Next comment is from Ogene Newi. Says, Governor Wike filed the agent via LP immediately. Tomorrow, that's today is the deadline. There's a public agreement in place. LP has left the state for you. Next comment is from Temi Similulua. Says, wow, PDP is planning for another 8 years of opposition. And Mohammed Tahir Danlawan follows immediately. Says, it is the responsibility of the state party chairman to submit the list. Odogu Gentle OJ is next on our list of respondents. It says, about time, long overdue. It's time to take the gloves off and get into the boost of politics. Mike is next. And Mike says, LOL, you people will just create unnecessary war in your state because of some politicians. It's okay, I dey go my house. I hope people don't trend any crisis on the day of election, Sha. Well, we hope that the elections are crisis-free. Next comment comes from Captain Nla. Is the last comment on that story. No one has monopoly of madness. A good start. That's the last comment on Wike's clipped wings. Now, away from politics, we'll go to entertainment. It's the weekend. We got to jai here. We got to flex, man. We're gonna chick, and all of those things. Now, over in the course of the week, one of Nigeria's fast-rising musicians, Abib Okikiola, also known as Portable, had pulled a very crazy stunt that a lot of people have been talking about. Let me show you what Portable did, how he entered a club for his performance. Well, you can see that Portable came into the venue for that concert in a very beautiful coffin. A white, beautiful, attractive-looking coffin. Very interesting one there. Now let's see the comments that have, followed that particular stunt. El Jefe says, still trying to wrap my head around the concept because there's so many questions. Yes, like, is he being reborn but in a casket? Now, is the casket rented or bought outright? Does this casket now qualify as second-hand casket? So many questions. So many questions. Make our eyes no see shege in Jesus' name, amen. There's casket symbolizes bad omen. Portable arriving in a concert with such a lucrative box is not ordinary, and the people who attended the concert are not safe. He has come to bury many bad things in his life or transfer evil to the audience. This is not a joking matter. Hashtag Portable. Nizar Artwork says, what Portable do? Please now, if you want to drag somebody, do it with proper English. I mean, what is this? What Portable did yesterday was a ritual, not madness at all. Check Google for more details. I pity all the people that witnessed the scenario. Make them go do deliverance. So people, they use juju, find money and fame, and they shout grace. Next comment is Sage 6 Strings. This is creativity. This is music business. People will keep talking and following up on his moves, and that's money in return. Point of view perspective NG comes up next, says arriving a concert isn't a thing of pride. We all know what it means to be in a casket. It is something to worry about. Let's not get carried away. As much as I like Portable, arriving a stage in a casket is very insensitive. Vic himself comes up, says, what is doing this guy? Does he truly know the meaning of this rubbish he's doing, Sha? Well, I'm very sure Portable, being who Portable is, knows exactly what he's doing. The next comment is Mayor of Lasgidi. Mayor of Lasgidi says, so many criticism, but when Undertaker did the same in the WWE, it was interesting, isn't it? It's all entertainment and for traffic. Portable has stayed relevant all year. Omolomo. Mystique is next. She says, Portable is somehow one of the biggest artists we have in Nigeria presently. The streets are repping him and he's doing well. But why do things that look occultic? What if he dies inside the casket? Yes, he's the most talented artist Nigeria got right now, but he needs to slow down. Tuniski says, mind you, Adam, we'll take Adam now. Adam says, Portable did this for relevance sake. This is for business motive sake. However, as a real Yoruba man, this is a spiritual settings, and a spiritual settings requires a spiritual fetish. I don't know what that means. I really don't. I don't know. Proudly Alfisti, she says, lies. Let's see pictures. Oh, okay. That's another story. So we'll go back now. Portable in the casket, in the coffin. How did that happen? What was he thinking? Why did he do it? What did he do it for? Those are so many questions that only the man himself can answer. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us on this program since it began on this darling dial. It's the last edition for this year, and we hope to see you next year on Monday when we come back from the New Year break. Remember to follow us on all our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram at Western Spring Television. Remember also to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. Follow us on Twitter at WSTV_NG and follow me on Twitter at EM Ujadigele. My name is Emmanuel Ujadigele. I'd like to show you what my phone looks like now, and I'm crowdfunding for a new phone. May God help all of us who need new phones. Let it be a New Year gift. I'll see you in the new year.
El nuevo invento acá de Soledad para poder apagarlo, volver a prender y para reiniciarlo como hace. Ahí está, todo equilibrado.
How would you like a TV station that breaks the barriers of your TV screen?